Most people think entrepreneurship is about profit, status, or escaping a 9-to-5 job. The truth is, it's far deeper. It's both the fastest path to wealth and freedom and the greatest tool for self-discovery and mastery you'll ever encounter. In this episode, we break down what entrepreneurship really is, why it's the path of the elite, and how conscious entrepreneurship transforms not only your business, but also your life. Welcome to the 4th episode of the Command Your Life podcast. I'm Fabian Bolin, co-founder of SEOL. I coach and train founders to step into true leadership and lasting wealth creation. Over the past decade, I've built companies from scratch, raised millions in venture capital, and delivered more than 100 public speaking engagements, proving how authentic storytelling can scale companies and building global movements. This podcast kicks off a 10-plus episode journey into the real game of entrepreneurship, exploring both sides of the coin. The material, firstly, offers leads, sales, delivery, hiring, pitching, fundraising, and wealth creation, but also the immaterial, your inner purpose, discovering who you truly are, and self-mastery. This series is about stripping away the clichés and showing you the real game of entrepreneurship, a journey that will change not only how you see the business, but how you live it. By the end of this episode, you'll understand why entrepreneurship is the path nearly all millionaires walk, how conscious entrepreneurship turns into a vehicle for wealth and self-mastery, and the 4 essentials you must master to build a real business. To really set the stage for this journey, I think it's good that we begin with looking at the word entrepreneurship and what it really means. Often words, when they first originated, they had one meaning, and then over the years of just life and evolution, they have come to mean something else. So let's first of all break it down, because in the root and the origin of any word lies a lot of truth of what it really means. So looking at the word entrepreneur, you might hear that it's a French word, but it's been then translated to an English word as well. And the English definition, according to the Oxford Dictionary, is the activity of setting up a business or businesses, taking on financial risks in the hope of profit. So pretty straightforward, and probably what most people think about today. It's a business guy, someone who runs a business or sets up a business. But then let's start to bring it down and go back in time. So looking at the French root, and what in French, it actually means one who undertakes something. So all of a sudden is not necessarily just about a business, it's about undertaking, going on a journey. Yeah, but to break that down further, we have to look at the compartmentalization of the word, or the buildup of the word. So in French, it means entree, and then prende or prende. It comes from there, which means then entree, which means between or among, and prende, meaning to seize and to take. And that we can go back into the Latin origin, which is then inter prohendere. And prohendere can be broken down into pray, and hendere, grasp. So ultimately, it's inter plus pray plus hendere, meaning inter, then, which is between, among, pray, before, and hendere, grasp or seize. So ultimately, what we're talking about here is one who steps into the in-between something, seizes what lies there, and undertakes to turn it into value. And this is just a beautiful description of what an entrepreneur really is. Someone who understands and looks at the flow of the world, the dynamics between people's needs, the supply and the demand, and steps into this hidden field and sees here something can be carved and turned into value. there's a need and a demand, or I have a skill and there's a need for that skill. I can bring that into value, converting that need and meet that need, and thus turn that into substantial value, not only for the person, but also in the form of wealth generated towards myself. I've been an entrepreneur for now 10 years in total, and I can say it's been one of the most amazing journeys of my life. One that is taking me deep into not only learning about the mastery of the markets or learning about the ways to navigate markets, understanding about offers, understanding about lead generation, sales, pitching, setting up a team, hiring, culture, purpose. But more so, it's also been a deeply internal journey where I've been forced to really meet myself, understand who am I beneath my identity, beneath my ideas of who I am, who I think that I'm supposed to be. And I'm really excited to take you on this journey. And for me, they say, once you go into entrepreneurship, there's no going back. It's really difficult to break yourself out of the employment role into the entrepreneurial role and then return back. But why should a person go into entrepreneurship? And here, there's four reasons for that. And or really three reasons. Firstly, it's the wealth and freedom. That's the first one. The second one is impact. And the third one is the personal development that comes with it. So let's break these down and look at all of them separately. The first one is the wealth and freedom bit. And I mean, ultimately, it allows you to work less for more, to just make it very straightforward. And what does this mean? Well, to look at this, we can look at it from the most basic perspective. And the easiest way to go from the first step for many entrepreneurs is to begin looking at, okay, I'm at a job right now and I have the skill. My job pays my bills and it pays a fixed salary. And for that, I have to spend then 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, roughly 160 hours, 170 hours a month to get that money in. So the first step, the most basic form of entrepreneurship, is to begin to say, okay, I'm personally going to take responsibility for selling my services to clients. So doing the same thing as you're already doing, using your skill, only learning how to sell that skill and bring it to a offer that you can then sell to certain clients that will hire you for your time. Very basic, very straightforward. And here, by looking at this, we can then begin to see what I like to call the consulting leverage equation. So basically, how much less do I need to work doing the same job if I'm willing to take the risk and responsibility of selling it myself? And this is quite exciting to look at. And the first bit there is to have a think about, because basically there's two things that goes into this equation. It is your rate per hour, meaning how much can I sell my time for? And then it is your utilization rate. Utilization rate means how much can I work, actually getting paid work in per workable hour. Let me explain this. So let's say there's 160 hours per month, that you can work. And then based on this, because now you're taking the risk of generating your own leads and your own clients, That involves that you have to market yourself, that you have to spend time doing more administration. You have to get an accountant, collect your invoices and receipts, and all of those things ultimately builds up to a certain amount of time that you need to spend. And this will then weigh down, meaning that it's nearly impossible for you as a consultant to be able to work 100%, meaning your utilization rate is 100%, because that would mean that you're able to work 160 hours a week or 160 hours a month during your consulting hours. Most likely, and a good estimate is that you're going to have to spend about 40% on getting your leads and all that admin work, meaning your utilization rate is about 60%. But as you evolve and the more skilled and experience you get in entrepreneurship and building a system, the higher you can bring this utilization rate. So that's the two things we're looking at here. Okay. So then let's look at it. And just to get you some real numbers, it really depends. The level of attraction or how attractive it is to go into consulting will also depend on where you are in your experience journey. So looking at a person who is relatively, this is just standard. I mean, it all obviously depends on where you work and what field and what industry, but I just did some standard numbers, and I took basic average rate for a person who is a junior, meaning 0 to 2 years of experience, and then mid experience, meaning 3 to 7, and then you have your high or senior experience, meaning 7+ years within your specific niche or field or specialty. And it means that if you do, assuming the utilization rate is 60%, then if you're in a junior position, you will have to work 4.5 days instead of your 5. So as you can see, it's not super attractive in the beginning, but this changes quite a lot when you go into mid experience and senior experience. So mid experience here, meaning 3 to 7 years, all of a sudden, to get the same amount of pay that you would for a full-time work employment, you only need to work 3 out of 5 days. And when you go into a senior role, the leverage gets even more. So here, all of a sudden, you only have to work 2 out of 5 days. So this then becomes the power of, this is now the leverage you're looking at here. So if you've been in the field for plus 5 years or 5, 6, 7 years, high chance is, or rather risk in this case, is that you're spending way much more time than you need to make that money, simply because you're not taking the risk of stepping into consultancy. And as I mentioned in the beginning, this equation can actually go up even further by you learning to sell yourself at a higher rate, but also building a solid, healthy system around how much admin you can make. So this is when it gets really exciting. So the higher the rate and the higher the utilization, the higher and more wealth of freedom you can get. Now, of course, the next part here is, so that was the most basic form of entrepreneurship. And my goal with this is also to begin to see and help more and more people that are sitting, that have very valuable and top level talent, but that they're being paid for by an organization, to feel courageous enough to take the step out. And I want to make this process as simple as possible by bringing down the perceived risk and demystifying the process of business and entrepreneurship. Now, the next layer of wealth and freedom, and the next layer, I would say the next evolution of a entrepreneurial endeavor, once you've gone to selling your services, that's usually how it starts. You look at, okay, what am I good at? And what is it that I can sell? And the next part then is to see, okay, how can I build an actual business? Because what you have right now is not a business. is a consultancy service. Yeah. To go into a business, it's another definition of it that we have to look through here. And I like the definition by Robert Kiyosaki, the founder the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which says that if you can leave your business for a year or more and come back and it's more profitable than when you left, then you have a business. If you can't, you have a job. And this is a really nice definition because it puts a distinct separation between anything where you are trading your time versus money. Because if you think about both being an employee and a consultant, what it is that you're doing is that you're trading your time, your skills, and you get paid money back for it. The difference between employee and a consultant is basically that you can carve out much more of the profit with yourself. There's no middleman in the form of your employer that takes most of the money and gives you a certain part left for you to take. But it's still you and time versus money. The moment we begin to look at moving into business is when you can create something that operates and grows more profitable independently on you. And this is when it gets really exciting. I've been over the years, of course, I've been moving around in the startup scene a lot. And there's a lot of startups right now that think they're businesses, but they're not operating as businesses. They're operating very much as high-paid jobs for two founders. Yeah. And why this is because many startups today fail to systematize what they're doing and making themselves redundant. Many startups fail. Many founders fail to look and see, okay, what is it that the business needs me for right now? And how can I replace myself? So most startups are still basically two well-paid jobs or a well-paid job for many people. And when any investor comes in and over the years, I've raised $7 million through venture capital, through various investors, and I've been in probably plus 300 pitch meetings over the years. So I've come to learn what works and what doesn't work, and how investors look at it. And this is the exact thing that investors looks for. How fast or are the founders aware or on their way to making themselves redundant? Because this is ultimately what's going to make a valuation incredibly high for a company. So that's what they're looking for. So that's just to get this started. And this whole first episode is to set the stage, right? And we'll be diving deep into many of these fields. Among them, of course, how can you increase your hourly rates? Because you can translate this also into a business. The more you tie value that you can generate to your clients, the higher the rate. And then the better you systematize your process, the more hours you can actually sell, or the more product you can actually sell to clients. So we're going to be going deep into all of these areas. So next part here is impact. So we've had wealth and freedom as the first ones. Now the second piece is wealth and impact. And this is really one that ultimately brought me into to entrepreneurship, because I saw that as a standalone person, I am able to impact this much. But if I'm able to build a system where I have more people working in that system, I'm actually able to magnify and amplify the amount of impact that I want to make tenfold, 100-fold, in the future 1,000-folds. And this is really the key here to look at. Ultimately, companies run around money. So money can be seen as the oxygen and the lifeblood. The more money that you make, the more you're able to hire people or market it and more processes. And assuming then I'm going to talk about why, if you build a good company based on the right foundations, that all you can focus on is really to maximize the revenue and the profit for it. Because if you've tied it purely to value, then what you want to do is just make sure that you can do that as much as possible. And this is what I see as in the definition of a conscious entrepreneurship. But let me get back to that soon. But the impact here is really the thing. So as an entrepreneur, I want to make as much impact as possible. And by doing that, by creating a system that ultimately runs without me, I'm able to then go on and create a further system. So the more impact I want to make, the more systems I make. It can also be that I just focus on one system and expand that more and more and more and more. But chances are that over the years, there'll be many opportunities coming my way. So instead of seeing things that's inevitably eternal journeys, rather think of them as right now, I'm building a system. When that system can operate as good or better without me, then I'm finished with my job, and then I continue. So it's the wealth and the freedom, it's the impact, and then last but not least, it's the personal development anger, because building a business will teach you, sadly, I mean, I went to Stockholm School of Economics, so it's considered one of the best business schools, definitely the best business school in Sweden, where I'm from, but also in all of Europe, and it's comparing to many of the Ivy League schools in the U.S. and Oxford, Cambridge, and yet during my entire time there, I don't think there was ever any course, definitely not in the standard setup at least, for entrepreneurship. No one told me about how to market. Nobody told me how to generate leads, how to sell, and whatever was being taught was so outdated that none of it is applicable. And ultimately here, I've had to learn much of this on my own with my experience. And this is now elements that that I will be breaking down and teaching throughout this podcast series going forward. But it will really take you to have to learn how to master the material world. Yeah, you learn how to navigate markets, how to build your offers, generating leads, generating sales, or converting leads into sales, as well as managing cash flow, leading people, and ultimately here, it's where you are. We like a definition in SEOL called iron sharpens iron. So to bring something out that you believe in, bring it out into the world, a world that would most likely, in different ways, due to the nature of the world, competitors will not want to see you exist in that place. It's a beautiful school. It's one of the best schools of life there is. And I just find it so fascinating. But then, of course, it also requires you to master the immaterial world, understanding yourself. What are you really good at? And that's one of the big ones to understand. And that's been a big journey for me as well. So what energizes you? You need to learn how to manage emotions, cultivating resilience, aligning passion with work. And the number one risk that any startup faces is that the founder, one of the founders or both founders, lose energy and passion. Because what you have in the beginning is ultimately that. Any business or any startup is ultimately the vision of one or two founders or three or however many there are. And whoever invests, whoever comes into that, whether it be employees or investors, what they're betting on is, will these guys keep going? Will these guys be bringing this home all the way? Are they in it for the long run? Because anyone can start a business and it's all glamorous in the beginning. It's like starting your marathon. It's like, yay, there's so many people there cheering for you in the beginning. But then what happens begins this long, endless journey of nothing, where it's just you. It's difficult. It's quiet. Nobody calls and asks you. People have already forgotten about you. are you then going to keep doing the work? Are you going to continue along this journey, even though there's no one cheering for you, even though it's difficult, even though you're going to have difficulties paying your bills, paying salaries, all of those things? That's where you really get tested. And that journey is long, and it can take many years. The more skilled you are, the shorter it will take, but it's inevitable for any business startup. And then at some point, you're going to reach where you find what's called the product market fit, which means where everything just starts to flow naturally. You have a good product that meets the demands of the market, and you have a good sales and lead generation system. So sales and marketing system, making sure that there's always a flow of people coming in and the product delivers estimated value or promised value. And there you go. Then you have this thing, and that's when it really begins to take off. But arriving there takes time. And what you have to do as a founder is to prepare yourself for that journey. And one of the big things that are, no founder can expect to just have a good time all the time and just do the joyful things. What is required often, especially in the early days of any entrepreneurial journey, is that to wear many hats. Building SEOL, I've been wearing many, I'm not sure how many roles I've been carrying. Anything ranging from paying, sending invoices to operating tasks, taking care of all the sales, delivering the product. And, you get really stretched. And that's something to be expected. However, what you need to look out for is to not burn out. And burning out does not mean working a lot. Burning out means that you have a constant negative energetic output. So some tasks that you do will bring you energy, and other tasks that you do will drain your energy. That's just the nature of it all. What you as a founder have to make sure is that you can balance the two, making sure that you at least have a break even, but ideally slightly higher positive outputs or energy building tasks. So what that means is that you got to find what it is that you love doing in the company. What is it that make you excited? What is it that make you joyful? Because also, chances are that those are the things that you're going to be the best at. Those are the things that you're going to be acing when you're doing them. And I don't know how often I've been falling into that trap myself, where I just found myself working and I forget to work on things that I find joyous and that I love doing. And what happens is I just get drained. Like, I notice how I get tired and more, just slowly lose touch. And it works for a while, Of course, it's going to be times where you just have to focus on something that you don't like. Like every year there's, when there's like accounting, closing of the books. Not sure how many founders, I don't think there's any founder that really enjoys that part. But then you need to go and look for receipts and all the things that you haven't really kept a good track of during the year, and that you can expect 4, 5, 6 days, maybe 2 weeks sometimes to just get everything together. And nobody likes that, or most people don't, at least. But yeah, to have a think about that one, and to have a think about what builds you and what doesn't build you. So ultimately, entrepreneurship is both an outer path to mastery and an inner path to self-discovery. And you build wealth in the world while discovering what makes you come alive. And I think it's such a beautiful expression of this. And especially working with men, they say that in one of my previous episodes, we talked about masculine and feminine energies. And ultimately, the masculine energy is the energy of the material world, and the feminine energy is the energy of the immaterial world. And you see how when you build your company, as I mentioned, it's both a material and an immaterial journey. So it will take you to a full expansion of who you are, but mostly will be where you learn how to navigate the material world. So I see it as a high path for any man to take to understand who he truly is and actualize himself. So, what is conscious entrepreneurship? Why add entrepreneurship to any as a label to entrepreneurship? Isn't any business solving a need out there, solving a problem? Yes. And this is the thing. I sometimes find it a bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Pretentious to call yourself a conscious business, because ultimately, whether your business somehow improves energy distribution over the world, or you're in clean tech, or you're in some environmental cause, or you're solving world hunger, or whatever it is, taking people to Mars. Any business solves a problem. Any business creates value. Yeah. So what is the difference between why even put a label on it? And the way I see it is, obviously, one prerequisite is that value needs to come over profit. So a conscious business ultimately will be not allowing themselves to operate unless they know for certain that they're creating value, not only for the person, but for the world. But that goes for most companies. There are a few that don't, that they know that they're not making value and they're still operating, but the big majority are creating value, right? So what's the conscious thing? What does that actually entail? The way I see it is that a conscious business involves a proactive personal development journey of all the people working in the company. So conscious entrepreneurs, conscious founders, or conscious business team, they understand that a company is ultimately a collection of made up energies that together form this fusion, which is the company. So let's say you have 10 people in the company, yeah? And then that is the collective output that this company can make is based on those 10 people and their internal worlds and the internal structures. So if those 10 people would choose to simultaneously, or as a part of working in the company, also diving into themselves, understanding who they are, what they're meant to be doing here, carving away limiting beliefs, and ultimately, slowly but surely, stepping into their highest power that they can create, that they then recognize that if we all do that collectively, we're going to create more power as an organization and more value out there in the world. That is what I see as conscious entrepreneurship. And it might also entail that if you go and begin this journey, that some people realize, well, I'm not actually at my right place here. I'm not supposed to be doing this thing. And then they leave. Well, that then is the highest value that they can generate for the company. They leave and leave that space for another person to come in who is actually yearning to look for it, yearning for that specific position. So slowly but surely, then it becomes a conscious way of running that business. And that is the definition of conscious entrepreneurship, at least the way I would define it. And why should one do this? Well, there's many reasons for it. Well, first of all, from a micro perspective, so how does this impact the organization in itself? And here we have increased productivity. We have employer branding. We have increased retention, and ultimately also founder freedom. And then on the macro perspective, we have that you are able to spearhead the evolution of humanity or the world. This is really the reason why I know a lot of people that work with this and work with as conscious founders. This is the thing that really entices them the most. We get to change and set a new paradigm, a new dynamic for how business can operate. Yeah. But let's break them down first of all, and let's look at the micro perspective. Increased productivity. So there's a ton of research here showing that the more you can help a person to, the closer you can help a person to be who they are in the company, the less they have to fake it. Because whenever you're faking who you are, putting on a mask, as it's called, often the situation is that we have our private mask and we have our work mask. In our work mask, when we don't show much, meaning deep down, we are resisting to express who we are. And this resistance is constantly causing an energetic drain. It takes effort to not be who we are meant to be. So the more you can create an environment where people are allowed to be who they are, of course, there are still rules. You might not talk about everything at your workplace. You can set exactly the culture you want. But the more transparent you are, the less of this mask and the more energy people will have to actually work and create value. So it leads to increased productivity, first of all. Second one, employer branding. I think this is going to be a big one for the future. Today, in today's world, personal development, working with yourself, has definitely left the scene of the fringe, outskirts of society. It's becoming relatively straightforward. Most companies today have like yoga, breath work. They hire therapists or coaches, and all of this, it's no longer a strange thing for anyone to say, hey, I'm working with myself, I'm going to a coach, or I do breath work on a daily basis, especially not if you're living in in the urban, in a city, in any city center. And what I believe is going to happen, or it's already happening, is that companies will slowly have to begin compete over talent, not only with regards to payment and excitement for the task itself, the work, but also how much can we help you evolve as a person? How much we're going to help you with your inner and personal development? And I had a chat with a person working in HR and with an HR company. I said, I think the future of any workplace, especially, offices, will be that they're being rebuilt into health centers. So a way to entice people is to say, come to work, and here we have IR sauna, we have cryo, floating tanks, we have a gym, we have therapists, we have coaches. And so when you come with us, you're going to get well paid, you're going to have a lot of fun, but we're going to take care of your inner development to a point where we're going to give you more than you could anywhere else, and especially if you're on your own. So, the more employer branding there. And the third one is retention. It kind of goes in the same direction as I mentioned there in the beginning with if you are in a place where you can be yourself, or you are stimulated and encouraged and motivated to be who you are and not hold back. You're not going to have to be drained every day by faking it and then coming back and just getting this mask off and becoming who you truly are. The higher the chance that you're going to be staying there, and especially also if the company invests in your evolution as a person. And then last but not least, founder freedom. Ultimately, what personal development means for everyone is to step into leadership, stepping into more autonomy. And what any company does that works with this is that you begin to notice how power begins to distribute itself where it needs to go. So power goes where power is needed. If you have one person who is highly evolved with himself, done a lot of work, most likely that person will naturally become a leader. And if you have a workforce or people working in your company that does not do anything, they will look to be told what to do. But as part of any inner developmental journey, you're going to begin to, as you become more powerful because you get to know who you are and your own expression, the more power you will also enjoy to have. And so it's a way also to gain more founder freedom by creating a company that where power goes where power is needed. And then we have the macro perspective, which is that you by building a conscious business, you're able to spearhead the evolution of humanity or the world. And it's the reason why I do this. And it's the reason why I've built SEOL as well. I mean, SEOL per se has not only we operate our company very consciously, meaning everyone that is in the organization is very welcomed to it's encouraged and stimulated and motivated to step into who they fully are and truly are. So we have that element, but also the whole purpose and the mission of the company in itself, the product, is to scale training of mature leadership, meaning we are here to build a training that is so good that it can scale out and be industrialized, meaning it can help not only hundreds, but thousands and thousands and thousands of people to step into mature leadership. Because what we see is that many of the problems of today in the state of the world can be attributed to lack of mature leadership. Most people in position-making power, have not been trained adequately to understand what leadership really means. So that's what we are doing here. We're finding a way and building a product that will teach in the fastest possible way mature leadership and with guaranteed results. And remember, this is not just about leading in the form of politicians and entrepreneurs and founders and business guys. Leadership is everywhere. Leadership is in your family, is in your society, amongst your friends. But this is why I personally feel so deeply connected to what I'm doing, is because we are here it's to me at least the highest possible value that I see is possible to create through a company. And we're building a culture around it, which makes it inside a culture where we're going to stimulate the highest possible growth of anyone working in that company. And this is now the things I'm happy to share with you over the next 10 or so episodes. Yeah. And we're now coming into the final piece, just to continue to set the stage here. And over the course now, and a lot of people seem to think that entrepreneurship is very difficult, or, it's complex. And it's not really. Ultimately, any business, it has 4 essentials that you need to look at in any business. And the first one is your offer. Yeah. What is the thing that you are offering? Whether it's your consulting hours, whether it's a product or a service that you, together with others, provide. That is your offer. It's the one thing. And you want to create an offer that is so good that it would make people feel stupid saying no to it. So that's the first one. Second one is leads. Yeah. So once you have your offer, and by the way, your offer also involves, how do you price it? So is it priced in an attractive way? Yeah. So what is it and how is it priced? Yeah. And then we have leads. And leads is you want to bring this offer in front of a group of people that are interested in your service or product. So imagine it as a downward, what's the word? It's called tratt in Swedish. It's imagine you had like a cone, right? So leads is the first, and they are people that are interested, that can see themselves being or using your product or taking part of it, or part of the service that you provide. Yeah. And then the next part is sales. So once you have generated your leads, out of those leads, the people will then, some of those will say, yes, but no. And some will be converting into paying clients. So sales involves the actual transaction. Yeah. And that can happen in many ways. Either you have a call with them, or they basically go on your website and click buy. So there's always a sales process. If you send 100 people to your website, then 40 of those click buy, for instance. Well, then you have 100 leads and 40 clients, or 40 sales. And then the last bit is the delivery of the products. So you have to, or the service, you have to deliver the promised value that you promise, what you have stated in your marketing and in your sales. Because if you don't deliver what you say that you're going to be delivering, you're going to have dissatisfied clients. Dissatisfied clients will then spread negative reviews, and slowly but surely will sink your operation. So that's it, really. Those are the 4 layers. You got to have an offer, which is so attractive that people would feel stupid saying no to it, including then what is it that you offer, but also how is it priced and how is it attractive. Second one is that you need to generate leads. People need to go from not knowing anything about this thing that you offer to ending up somewhere where they can look and understand more about this. And then the sales process begins. Out of those leads, some will convert into sales, and then you deliver the product. And if you can break it down like this, you can then see here that any good entrepreneur looks at this process and sees where is the bottleneck, because there's always going to be a bottleneck. You might have a great product. You know you deliver good value because you have tested it and you have created enough experience with clients that you know it's good. Okay, great. But you have no one that wants to buy it. Well, then it sounds like you have a lead problem. That means that you need to go out into the world and create ways to bring those leads in front of your product. That can happen through reaching out to people, cold calling. You can have content that you can create on social media, and you can do paid ads. So those are the 4 main ways to create leads. And you can also use lead getters. So you can have affiliates that make money from somehow getting leads in front of you. You can have agencies that work directly with lead generation. You can have employees, meaning you don't have to do it yourself. And you can have referrals from previous customers that talk to their friends. That's the lead problem then, if you don't have any. And once you have the lead problem, you might be getting a lot of people in, but no one is converting to actual clients, paying clients. Then you have a sales problem. So it might be that you're not good at convincing people, or people might be unsure that the offer that you have is actually worth as much as you say it is. So it could also be an offer problem. But here you can look at, okay, what are my sales skills? Or do I need to reposition the offer to make it more exciting? Yes. And then once you have the lead process going well and the sales process going well, then you're going to end up most likely with a delivery problem, because at some point, the more people you have using your product or service, the more strain it will be for your service to be able to deliver. And then you're going to see, oh, maybe it's not able to scale. Depending on what business you have, this can be more or less so. So then it can be a delivery product, and then you need to strengthen that. So wherever you are in your business, there will always be one of these 4 will be the bottleneck. And there is where you focus. There is where you bring your game in and focus on nothing else than that. So just a little introduction there to the business essentials. And that's going to be the journey that we're going to be going on together now. I want to help you, and I want to break down this. And in this also, we're going to be covering other things than just the business essentials. It will also be around pitching, how to hold a presentation, and other elements such as raising capital and financing the company. But yeah, staying around these. And I'm really happy to have gotten on this journey now. It's really, really warm in my heart around entrepreneurship. And this is what I do myself. I've been doing it now for 10 years. So this is really where my passion lies. Beautiful. So we're coming to a close here. And to just summarize the 3 most important truths. Firstly, entrepreneurship is the path of leverage. So it lets you work less, earn more, and create systems that work or grow without you. Entrepreneurship is the path of mastery. It tests you in the material world, learning about offers, leads, sales, delivery, and also the immaterial world. Finding your inner purpose, what you truly are meant to do, where your energy lies, emotional mastery. And then conscious entrepreneurship is the path of impact, where you put value before profit, and also where you highlight the need for personal development amongst everyone who works in that company. So now for an exercise that you can do, I'd love you to start with calculating your consulting leverage equation, or use the consulting leverage equation to check your consulting leverage. And this obviously again is most relevant for people that have not begun their entrepreneurial journey yet, but rather people that are right now at a workplace and are considering going into this journey. And the way you do it is that you, first of all, you check what is your offer. So ask yourself, what is the thing that I do better than most others that is sellable? And we're going to go deeper into offer later down the line and talk about, because you can tie more things than just your skill set at your work. But easiest here is to say, what am I working with? Okay, you have that one. And then you look at, okay, if I were to sell this as a consultant, you can check with ChatGPT. I would suggest, this is my experience. If I were to sell this, what can I sell it for? And then you get your average, like your rate per hour expected. Nice. Then the next part is to then calculate your leverage, meaning how much are you making per workable hour as a consultant. So you take your rate that you can make and take it times or multiply it by the utilization rate. And for simplicity, assume 60%. So take whatever you can make times 60%. Here, you're going to get what you can make per hour. And now, this is the part where you can see then, because now you have that sum per hour, and now you can compare it to what you're really making at your work right now. So take what you're making per month, and then you divide that by the number of hours that you're working. It's usually around 160, 170 if you work 8 hours a day. And there you will get your rate per hour as employee. And there you're going to see the difference. Let's take an example. Let's say you can make 600 hours, 600 or 60 euros an hour, or 600 kroner an hour as a consultant, and you make 400 an hour or 40 euros an hour as an employee. Yeah, that means then that you have a consulting leverage of 1.5. And to then see how much less you have to work is that you take 100 divided by 1.5, or you can also take 5 days divided by 1.5, and you'll see how many days of the week you have to work to make the same amount of money. So then 5 divided by 1.5 would be 3.33. So you'd be making the money back, the same money you're making by only working 3 and a third working days instead of 5, as an example. So check this out, and hopefully that will stimulate or begin a process for you of seeing that, okay, maybe I should go on this journey. Maybe now is my time. Thank you for coming in here and listening into this first episode. I feel very excited to continue now the journey with you. In the next episode, we're going to be breaking down the 4 essentials of business, begin the process of breaking down, because all of these, your offer, leads, sales, and delivery, are very deep, right? You can go deeper and deeper and deeper. So most likely we'll have a first round of breaking them down. And then later down the line, we're going to go even deeper into them. But this is the playbook for the top 1% of people really master, because everything else is really noise. And most entrepreneurs don't get it right, those 4 essentials, and understand how they work together. So with that, I want to thank you for listening, sending you much love, and see you soon.